Okay, I'm going live on YouTube now. Going live. Okay, we're streaming.
Can y'all hear me? I want to make sure my phone's working right.
I got you.
Thank you.
So are we ready to go?
I'm ready.
Everybody ready?
Good.
What's the deal?
So I guess I will go ahead and call this meeting to order of the Marion County Board of Education on this icy day. And we will go ahead and get started with a Pledge of Allegiance and moment of silence. Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, and the next part under communications is our superintendent's report. So if you want to go ahead, Mrs. Schlosser, go ahead.
Okay, so we have Kim on here with us, and this is the first time we've done a completely Zoom meeting. And so she is going to share her screen, but I have the superintendent's report over on another device. So I'm going to go ahead and start. So Kim, if you want to share your screen, that'd be great. Otherwise, I'm just going to move forward. And I just want to welcome Carrie as our new board chair and congratulate you on that opportunity for 21 through 23. And Peggy, just thank you for your continued service as vice chair. And Brad, to say thank you for your service as board chair for the last couple of years. Jennifer Wheeler, our food service director, Bluegrass Farm to Table. She'll be providing a session and it'll be a virtual summit on March the 3rd. And so we're very excited about the fact that she can talk to a lot of districts about our progress on emergency feeding and also to recognize her in regards to the agricultural food division. She's basically, you know, their comment to us was she's one of the strongest, hardworking, motivated, passionate directors in the state. So it's really nice when we have done a lot of cool things and folks from all over the state and all over the nation, so to speak, actually call her and say, like, how do you do it? So it wasn't something that we just did because of COVID. We've been feeding kids for a lot of summers, and she just took those summer feeding programs and put those into place. So appreciate her. Also, want to give a big shout out to our counselors. It's Counselor Appreciation Week. We are very fortunate in Marion County Public Schools to have a counselor in all of our buildings, including our ATC. They do a fantastic job. And when we think about teaching and learning, we have to remind ourselves that it's not just about academic health and physical health, but it's also that social, emotional, mental health. And we're very fortunate with a lot of great counselors. So if you see one of those folks, just give them a big shout out. It's also Family Resource Center Appreciation Week. And excited to say that in the past few years, we have actually added a Family Resource Center director to our district. Again, that's just another individual that can provide services to our district. And so very pleased with the work that they do, and another opportunity to connect with our families. Melissa Hutchins had an opportunity to meet with Senator Jimmy Higdon to talk to him about our reading recovery program and a couple of House bills and Senate bills. Again, it's always great that we have so many advocates in our district talking to him about the things that makes our district better. Very excited about the fact that Courtney Murphy has reached out through ELL and provided an additional language solutions so that we have an opportunity for parents who have a completely different language than we do, and so that we can reach out to them and provide that service. Thank you, Courtney, for that. We've also had an opportunity, and our board members may want to talk more about this at a different meeting, but we went ahead and had a conversation with career and technical education at the state level in regards to the Senate bill, where we have an opportunity to have control of our area technology center. Also, we need to continue those conversations with our new economic development director and those folks. If winter weather hadn't have come to play, we were going to have an ATC meeting with both Washington and Marion County in business and industry, but we have had a little bit more information in on that. Heartland Coalition, we really appreciate their donation that they have had. Teaching and learning, as we move through with teaching and learning, obviously there's a lot of things going on with that. As you can see, we have had an opportunity to connect with Dr. Parrott again. We had that conversation years ago, but he's actually a virtual meeting talking about how can we connect with folks who have a different socioeconomic background. Our secondary teachers have worked with the Southern Regional Educational Board in January, again, continuing the conversations about career pathways. A big shout out to our Governor's Cup champions at Marion County High School. When we talk about teaching and learning, a lot of times we talk about that in context of one grade level, but there's a lot of things that go on in that realm. So a big shout out and a congratulations to Marion County High School. Marion County Middle School's been working a lot, and actually working on like a book study about how we engage learners through Zoom. And I would think that we would all appreciate and understand that it's a completely different world. It's a completely different meeting, right? It's a different meeting if we were in person versus a Zoom meeting, but it's pretty cool that our teachers have identified the fact that how do you connect with learners that way. Very excited about the fact that our Glasscock Elementary Family Resource Center is actually hosting a kindness campaign and a kindness challenge for our teachers. I'm not sure if this is on here, but I know that our Smile Clubs across the district are doing some really cool things. And I know that Glasscock Smile Club painted rocks, and they gave to their teachers and just reminded them that they are a rock. And I know that our Smile Club presented me with a basket, and it was like a smile box. And so it's pretty cool that our kiddos are thinking about ways that they can remind people just how important they are. And how they can bring smiles. I think that's a good reminder, and that's something that we can all do as we move forward. With high expectations, just reminding folks that we're very fortunate in Marion County to have the Dolly Parton Imagination Foundation Library, and that our Board of Education supports that. And just thinking about the fact that we are sending 755 kiddos in our district a book every month, and we've already graduated 586 children, future graduates of Marion County, with a book. I've got several Dolly Parton
Thank you.
Imagination Foundation Library, and that our Board. I'm going to unmute myself. Isn't this great? Just learning how to do this. If you can see all the kiddos we've got going to our preschool, and notice that we involve all of our students with that. Very, very excited about the fact that we have 118 3-year-olds participating in preschool and 204 4-year-olds. And we're already having conversations about what does kindergarten registration look like and preschool registration look like for next year. We've been having those meetings. We're going to make sure that we get that out to folks, so we can get those folks ready as we go. And then to continue with our high expectations, just talking about the fact that we are celebrating our Black History Month. A lot of schools are doing some cool things with that. Obviously, we always want to, appreciate all the different ethnicities in our district. And obviously February, Dr. Martin Luther King, he always tells a great story, and I'm never going to not love the fact that he said, "I have a dream." And I think as long as we always have a dream, we're always going to continue to make big things happen. CES wanted to make sure that we celebrated the fact that we had a great Winterfest. Glasscock Elementary has a lot of cool things to talk about, which is a great parent communication with a program called Dojo. Obviously, if you're watching and maybe you're a grandparent, you have no idea what Dojo is. But for those of us who have kiddos or we live in school world, it's a way for our kiddos to participate in teaching and learning and to communicate. Also, a lot of parent-teacher conferences out there, and also our kindergarten kiddos are being meteorologists. Obviously, we all could use some of those, especially this week and next week as things come up. Our Marion County Night Academy, we've talked a little bit about elementary school, so let's talk about what's going on in the 8th and 9th grade. It's already time to start talking about what does your schedule look like for next year. And I know folks can't imagine this, but we're looking almost the middle of February. We're going to look up and school's going to be out, and it's going to be time for kids to start thinking about what their schedule is next year. They've even developed a Google site for parents to learn more about scheduling. And we've got a great guest speaker coming in to talk to our students and our parents about Keys money. And what I'm going to say about that is we need to educate our kids and our parents about the fact that, your grades really do matter. Your ACT really matters, and that's really going to provide you some with dollars. So whether you go to a technical school or a traditional college site, that's going to give you some money for those kinds of things. A big shout out to the board. You all supported that esports team, and we've got 16 members currently participating in that, and that's going to open up next week. So that's, again, another opportunity for students to participate in an activity that maybe they wouldn't otherwise do. And so I just really want to say thank you for participating in that. And as we continue to move through with high expectations, we always want to talk about that market, connect, and communicate. And, I think the board you all even really need to give yourself a pat on the back. I mean, we're doing a Zoom meeting, it's videoed, we always upload those kinds of things. That's something we're very transparent about. So that's not actually on this slide, but I just want to say that. We have a lot of conversations about our student social emotional learning, but I want you to know that we're taking that one step further. One of the things about attracting and retaining and recruiting our staff is the fact that we realize that we want our staff to feel good about themselves, and we want them to feel good about their mental health as well. And so we're really working on that. We're gonna start, as you can see, talking about staff activities, and we're gonna provide exercise classes, art classes, painting, book clubs, and things like that for our staff. We want Marion County to be a place where lots of people want to come and work, and we want it to be a place where we feel like that's their extended family. We're going to be providing a Maroon Heart Award, nominations and certificate, cooking classes with our extension office, and again, another way to connect with our community. We're going to make sure that everyone knows that they have this involved, and also just providing that mental health agencies that can connect with them and give them some support if they need that. I mean, this world that we're living in right now is not like any world we've lived in before, and we want those folks to know that if you work in Marion County, it's not just about a student's social emotional health, but theirs as well. Technology, I continue to be excited about that. Not that this bullet point's down here, but I know that Mr. Lyons and his staff, if there are families that cannot receive internet, that they can call Mr. Lyons, and he's going to make sure that they get that service. Also, just working with a lot of different grants. I know that the county judge and that the magistrates are working to get that last mile in so that service is available. A lot of times I'll have people say to me, well, why don't you just pay for their internet? Well, there are instances where I couldn't pay for it because it doesn't exist. So it's really cool that we have an opportunity, and these grants are out there. And I think across the Kentucky and across the US, they recognize that we have to get that service out there for our families. And so just very thankful that we have what we have. And I had somebody say to me, like, well, what happens? They just don't get anything. I want to remind you that our schools, if a child does not have internet access, that they load the information on a jump drive, and that they can come into our schools and get that jump drive and bring that back. So they do a Google offline and they go back and forth. So I don't want you to think just because a child does not have internet access that we are not going to find a way. And obviously that works a little bit different for secondary as elementary, but we're always trying to find a way to figure out how to make sure kids are connected with that technology resource. So I think Kim and I are using our phone, and we just keep moving along. So we do have for Next Generation Marion County. I think it's very important to recognize that while we are currently sitting in these seats, we want to prepare kiddos to be a part of that next generation. Excited to say that April the 17th, we will have our Young Leaders Conference at Marion County High School, and our student ambassadors at the high school will actually be working with young leaders at the 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th grade. Like I said, we'd already talked about some of the things our Smile Club had participated in. We've had lots of award winners with our Beta Club participants at the Night Academy, West Marion, and so on. And I don't really want to get into those because I know that Calvary's had some winners and different things like that. So I'll try to make sure that I have all of those listed next year or next month. And so you can see that we have invested in our district with our Beta Club sponsors, and a lot of different things are going on with that. I'm excited to say that Marion County has a great presence in Beta Club. And not that this is down here, but I know that Jamie Brown, our teacher at Marion County High School, she is actually recognized as one of the National Beta Club sponsors. And so when you have that person in your district, it trickles down, and then it allows our kids to have more opportunities as well. We've got a lot of cool things going on with Lexia and Zern and Achieve 3000 across our district. Mr. Mattingly wanted to make sure that LES was recognized for some of the top classes and all of those kinds of things. And then our next slide, like I said, Kim and I are trying to do this together. So our next slide that I want to talk about is actually our facilities plan. And I have worked with Randy to ask for a timeline for our BG1. And I'm going to ask Kim to pull that up, and she's working remotely. So she's going to pull that up. So I'd like for everyone to look at that, and I can provide you a hard copy. And if you can look at that, you can see that we are currently, if you look down the left side, we are currently working on the program and the somatic design. And so we have already met with them on 2 different occasions. And we already have another meeting scheduled in 2 weeks. And so you can see that that begins in January of 2021 and it goes through 2023. And you can see along the left side that, you know, design development, and then you kind of get into the bidding, and then actually the construction. They want to remind me that in the event that we have kiddos in the building, we have to kind of plan accordingly. We can't just tear off the roof with our kids in the building and our teachers in the building. But we had a fantastic meeting today about programming and what that looks like. But when you look at this, notice it says preliminary project schedule. RTA has been fantastic to work with. They are taking input from us about what our programs are and what we want to do and how we can rearrange those kinds of things. And so you can see it is going to take a bit of time to do this. But if you can just imagine, when school starts in the year 2023, it will be like having a completely renovated space at Marion County High School, where we have programs in place, we have a new roof, we have new HVAC, we have those outlets that we've talked about, because obviously that's very important with technology increasing. We've talked about the fact, it was so funny today, or funny or just realistic, the fact that the electrical, he talked about the electrical system. He said, you know, that's like 50 years old and we're probably going to have to do something different. And I, you know, absolutely, yes, that's exactly why the board identified this as a project that we wanted to do. So just talking about all those things and tying them in together. So I hope that, you know, this preliminary project schedule is something that gives everyone a timeline. We can actually get that uploaded to our website and print those kinds of things out. It may even be something that we want to make sure that we have a spot, especially on our website, to look at. So very pleased with the work with RTA and, you know, the progress that we're making. Again, it's basically every 2 weeks we have a conversation, and then folks go in and they look and do all those kinds of things. We've got mechanical engineers and architects and landscaping engineers. And you may say landscaping, like we don't want to, you know, we don't want any flowers. But when you talk about a landscaping engineer, they're actually talking about things like, how do we separate bus traffic from student traffic? So if you've ever done bus duty on the back end of the high school, we've got teachers walking out the back, students walking out the back, and then we have bus traffic out the back. How do you do that? And then if you've ever driven by on the front, you've got parents lined up off Danville Highway three deep in the circle. So how do you separate those kinds of things? And so when we talk about landscape, we're talking about more than just flowers. We're talking about how do we use the land that we have to address safety issues. So it's been a great conversation. I'll be real excited to share additional things like that with the board. And also the next item, and I don't have a really slide for that, but I know that next Thursday that we are going to have our hearing for our DFP. And so at that point, we'll have our hearing. It'll be a listening session. And then Randy reminded me that it'll be a listening session. We are to record what happens there. And then our responsibility is to then take all of the things that have happened in this progress, present that to the board. The board will vote, and then we will send that on to Frankfurt. And then from there, it will be on the Kentucky Board of Education's agenda. And so, you know, I just encourage board members, if there's things you want to know, I want to answer those questions. And if there's things that I don't know, then I want to work with Randy in that progress and to make sure that we're answering all your questions and answering the community's questions as well, because this is something we've been working on for several years. And we want to make sure that we're very transparent and we're crossing our T's and dotting our I's as we move through that. And then, again, if you've got questions about that, please ask me. And if I'm not you know, whatever I need to do, you just need to let me know. Our meal pickups continue to be awesome. Obviously, we didn't have that yesterday because of the weather, but we're always looking for opportunities to provide services to our kiddos. We will look for a way to give those meals out next week. Those are already in place. Excited about that opportunity. Our terrace metrics that we talked about at our last board meeting, we're actually going to follow up and have some information for our parents. We're going to have parent meetings for our elementary and our secondary, and those reports have been sent home through our report cards. And I want to give a big shout out to our Heartland Coalition for helping donate that. Also for our English language learners. I'm very pleased with the fact that Courtney Murphy has purchased a translation service for the language solutions. And so all of our staff, we wear a badge, and right behind that badge, we're going to have another opportunity where we can log in and get some of those things. And so we want to recognize that while everyone, we all may look the same, but we may have a different kind of language, we want to be able to provide services to those folks. A couple of months ago, we talked about the fact that Lebanon Waterworks wants to work with us, and it's very exciting because we have the opportunity to have a water tower near our ATC, and we can provide the water on a different end of the county, on the east end of the county. So as you can imagine, we could have a water tower. They're going to work with us. We can wrap that up with some Marion County Public Schools things, and we can be a partner. The landscape works perfect. It's elevated there. And so that's something we're working with. So I'm going to be coming to you with the opportunity for an easement on that as well. And I hope that's something that we can continue to partner with. Tim and I continue to work with the health department, and sometimes the health department is busy. And so we just meet with some other superintendents and talk about what's going on in their district. So every Thursday morning we have that opportunity. Our employees have had an opportunity to have the first round of the COVID vaccine. We did that on February the 3rd, and we will have our second vaccine on March the 3rd. And so what I would like to say to folks is that we are anticipating at the latest that we are going to be able to go back to school 5 days a week, that March the 15th. That would be after the second round of the vaccine. We are optimistic that we are going to be able to get our elementary school kiddos back in school February the 22nd. Now, we're optimistic. We're hopeful for that. Now, that may not necessarily mean that our secondary kiddos will be able to be back as quick as our elementary, but we know that there's a very different type of education that goes on between teaching a child to read and a child using reading to learn. And so we're working on that. We're going to keep the community posted on that. So please continue to follow us on social media and on our website. We hope you're signed up for our app and you're getting our text messages. We want our students back in the building as soon as possible. Very thankful to have had the opportunity to get that vaccine. I'm ready for March the 3rd. But I do want the community to understand that from everything we've read, that second vaccine, there's about a 30% chance that people have a side effect that's very similar to COVID. So we're going to be letting folks know that March the 3rd will be an NTI day, along with that Thursday and Friday, with about 300 staff taking the vaccine. With 30%, we're looking at about the possibility of 90 folks that could have a reaction. And with that being said, we think it would be better to go ahead and let families know that Thursday and Friday would actually be an NTI day so that you can plan accordingly. And so I just encourage everyone when it comes to communication to please follow us again on our website, our app. And we just want to be a partner. If there's something we're not communicating, please let us know. We want to tell you a lot of good things going on in our district. Very excited about the fact that we even have 600 new Chromebooks coming into our district. We're always trying to find ways to make Marion County Public Schools the best and the brightest. We want it to be a place where kids have multiple opportunities. Excited about this new BG1 plan with our high school. We're going to keep you up to date about all those kinds of things. And if there's more that you want to know, you just let us know, and we're going to put that out for you. So, and of course, after I get through with my communications report, my computer tells me that my battery's running low, and that probably means I've talked too much. So I'm going to plug in my computer and listen intently. So thank you all so much, and I'm going to go plug in my computer.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Slosser. Does anybody have any questions, any comments? There was lots of good information in there. All good. Well, I know that the community will be excited to hear about our optimism about getting students back in the classroom 5 days a week. I think we're all looking forward to a little bit of normalcy for whenever and however that happens. So that's great news, and just looking forward to, I think, spring on a day like this today. So thank you very much for all of that great information. Next is the attendance and enrollment report, and I'm going to hand it over to Tim now. Tim, we can't hear you if you're talking.
Sorry about that. Can you see my screen?
I was getting ready to say, we prefer the commentary.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm aim to please. So everyone can see the screen okay, right?
Yes.
Okay. So here is our current enrollment numbers as of today. And you can see what each of the different grade levels are yielding right now. Once again, down at the bottom, I'm showing you two different types of differences. The red indicating below what was for last year at the end of the school year. So you've got as if you were following, the first one is as if you were following the grade along. You could see, for example, this one shows down 6 from last year in 8th grade and so forth. And then the other is just the difference between the grade levels as they were last year. So that's just straight up a difference between kindergarten, and so on for this year. And then I have your attendance groups here. So these are your enrollment numbers on the left. The numbers that we have in distance learning then is reported next. And you can see district-wide, we've got 623 students on distance learning. Then we have our 2 in-person groups, in-person A and in-person B. And those groups, as you can see, are pretty close in number. Probably any discrepancy that we have there are probably due to requests from parents that they be moved, or requests from for other reasons. And then over here on the side, you see the in-person percent, and by school, you can see what our in-person percentages are. The high school being the lowest, and Lebanon Elementary and West Marion being the highest as far as in-person participation. Does anyone have any questions about that?
I think we're good. That the in-person A and B split is pretty close. That's not bad at all. So thank you for that.
Well,
You're welcome.
if I can just comment, I just felt like, we'd already talked about, our enrollment is our enrollment, right? And so I felt like that what the board would want to see and the community would want to see is, what does that look like? What does in-person versus distance learning look like? And hopefully a hybrid model is just going to be something that's just a moment in time, and not something that actually lasts forever. And I know that one of the things that we probably need to talk about, or we should talk about, is the fact that what's the difference between a hybrid model versus a distance learning model. And obviously at the secondary level, and when I say secondary, 6, 7, 8 and up, you're basically on a schedule, and kids are following along by that. At the elementary level, the principals have worked with their staff, and they are hopeful that when they get kids in the building, they can double up on things like math and reading. So the distance learning looks very different than what it would if we had a full-time distance learning. And I know that when I presented to the board, that we talked about the fact that it would look similar, and it doesn't at the elementary level. So I want to go ahead and present that to the community. It looks very different. They felt like if they got kids in the building, they wanted to double up on those reading and math skills. So those 3-day a weeks that maybe they're not getting, it looks completely different. So I just want to say that out loud. I know that I presented that to the board, that it would look very similar. But I want to trust my elementary school principals and our instructional coaches and our staff to say, hey, we want to double up on that. But I know if I'm a mom and I'm thinking, hey, my kid's supposed to be online every single day, and it looks very different than what it did prior to a hybrid AB. And I'm just going to be honest. I really did not want to even go to this hybrid model. I really wanted us to just, hey, we're either going to go to school or we're not. And I never imagined that in the middle of February, we would still be attending school this way. Someone reminded me when they told us we had to wear a mask for 15 days in March, we thought, oh, it's just 15 days. And now here we are a year later. So and I think, Carrie, you said it best. This is just a very fluid situation. And we want to communicate to parents what that looks like. If we can get our especially our elementary kids back in school in the next week or so, then it'll take care of itself. And especially with our staff receiving that vaccine, that second vaccine, I think that's going to be even helpful. And you shared with me today that update, what the CDC had talked about in regards to, if you get the vaccine, not having to quarantine in that 90 days, that's going to get us through the end of school. And so very optimistic about improving what that looks like for families, and especially what it means for a child that's trying to learn how to read and a parent who's trying to teach their children number bonds and fractions. So again, if there's anyone that has any questions about that, or families that have questions about that, please reach out to our office or reach out to the principal. We want to keep you up to date on what that looks like.
Awesome. Thank you so much for clarifying all that. And I really, as a parent of 2 elementary school children, as well as a secondary age child, I sincerely appreciate the focus that our district team is putting on getting kids back in the school building. And I know that communicating what that looks like on a day-to-day basis for families is really important. So I commend you and the team for all of the information that they're putting out there. I know that it's no small task, especially with things moving and changing every single day. So I thank you all for the effort and the hard work and just everything that you have put into this world that we live in for the past year. It's much appreciated. So next we'll move on, unless anybody else has any questions or comments about the enrollment report or those. Okay. So we'll move on to the finance report, and Mr. Spalding, are you on here?
I am.
All right, take it away.
Kim, if you could open up the financial summary, there you go. Thank you. Looking at the month of December, looking on the receipt side first, property tax is up 11%. We think it's more due to the timing of receiving the payments from the sheriff's office. Motor vehicle tax is up 59%, which is what we talked about in the previous month. A lot of the clerk's office was closed for a while and during the shutdown for COVID, and we're catching back up with that. Utility tax this month is still unfavorable, but it's 17% this month prior to being 40%. So we are catching up on some utility payments. If you remember, there was some COVID relief from people paying their utility bills during the first part of the pandemic. So we're catching up on that. Interest is going to be a constant thing you hear every month, just because the rate changed at Citizens Bank from 1.53 down to 0.25. So we're down 86% compared to this point last year. SEEK is actually up 7%. Also, just an FYI, in December, SEEK, part of that will actually hit Fund 2 because of some CARES funds the state chose to utilize payment to the districts for the SEEK payment that month. So our share of that month was $663,000 in Fund 2. This report's for Fund 1. Medicaid reimbursement is down 9%. Again, just limited to no students in the building to provide billable services to. And then the other is just a timing issue. At random times we get some different payments. So that's just a variance kind of a fund there. Looking at expenses, instruction, function 1000 there, we're favorable 10%, again, due to not having as many subs and whatnot. That expense is down due to COVID. 2200, we got some coding consistent this year over what was previous to help clean that up. 2400, we've had some retirees in administration and hired some new people, so that salary is a little less, so we're favorable 11%. And then kind of the same way in 2500. Also in 2600, you'll see a big favorable of 46%, obviously due to COVID, where our repair and maintenance and utilities are down due to not a lot of people being in the building. And then also part of that fund, like I was speaking of the SEEK payment, we had to use it all in December, so we had to go back and capture some expenses, and you had to capture some large expenses, so we moved some electrical expenses out of that fund too. While we still had that expense, it's hit a different fund because of the way KDE is seeing the SEEK payment from month to December. Fund 2700, transportation, we're favorable 26%. A lot of that's due to, again, school buses not running, saved about 40,000 in tires and repair parts thus far, and about 50,000 in diesel compared to the previous year. Looking up at 3300, community services, we're favorable 130%. Some of that's got to do some grant funding, some transfers, and also some expenses for students not being in the building, some opportunities they've missed out for being live and in person. Fund 51, debt service, unfavorable 25%. It's just a timing issue. And Fund 5200 there, we're favorable 17%, which is not actually a good thing. It's due to, it's only $4,300, but the difference is the cat's match from the previous year was at 25,000, where this past year was 21,000, our required match to that. So overall, our receipts for the month were 11.4 million versus expensive of 7.6, so about 3.8 to the good, which has got to do a lot with the property taxes coming in and receiving. Any questions on any of that?
All right, thank you, Mr. Spalding.
Thank you.
So the next item on the agenda is item 3D, the Guaranteed Energy Savings Contract Data Annual Report. And Adam, are you on here and ready?
I am. Can you hear me?
We can.
Good evening, everyone. All right, I can see the screen there, so I'll get started. My name's Adam Pierce. I'm with CMTA, and back in 2015, the Marion County Public Schools issued an RFP for a guaranteed energy savings contract. And as part of those contracts, we have an obligation to verify that the savings that are generated from the work that we did actually are achieved by the district. If you can go to the next slide. This slide, so I always like to remind those of you that are familiar with this project, how it worked and why you did it, but also to inform maybe some of those of you who aren't familiar with what this was. But back in 2015, you had an HVAC system and a roof at Lebanon. It was then Lebanon Middle School. Both the roof needed to be replaced and the HVAC system needed to be replaced as well. At that time, bonding potential was limited. So the district administration and the board at the time was looking at a guaranteed energy savings contract to help fund some of the work to preserve bonding potential for future projects. So the way that works, I've got two pie charts illustrated here. So the operations budget before improvement, that's the top pie chart. So basically across the district, you had a maintenance budget for things like HVAC and also a utility budget for electric and natural gas, mostly across the district. Upgrades like the HVAC system at Lebanon Middle School, and then lighting upgrades across the district, as well as building automation system upgrades across the district. Those things will produce energy savings, which is quantified there in the green slice of the pie on the bottom. So that's general fund savings. So money that was being paid to the utility companies, if guaranteed by a provider like CMTA in this example, we guarantee that those savings. So your general fund budget kind of stays the same, but you're using the savings for the money that is no longer going to the utility company to pay down the debt service. So hopefully every year when we do this, we will be able to report that the actual savings that you actually received from the work meets or exceeds the debt service that you're paying out of the general fund. So that's what I'm here tonight to present. You can go to the next slide, please. Now, I've already alluded to some of the work that was done, but the highlight of the project was the work that was completed at Lebanon Middle School. You can see there's a drone shot there during construction, but Lebanon Middle School is now geothermal water source heat pump. That conversion was made back in 2015. And then, as I mentioned, there were lots of HVAC controls across the district that were either added or modified. And then district lighting across the district, a lot of exterior parking lot lighting and gymnasium LED lighting and things like that. And then also there was a little bit of water conservation where we installed meters on the cooling towers because that water gets used and evaporated for cooling. It doesn't go to the sewer. So you actually get a sewer credit for cooling tower water at the high school and the elementary school. You can go on the next slide, please. This slide, so KSBA used to compile all of this data, and this is from 2000. I can't. Is this 2017 or? I can't see the entire screen there. So in 2000, what I'm saying here is in 2014, Marion County was at a 55 EUI. So the EUI is a measure of energy usage per square foot. So the lower that number is, the better. So in 2014, Marion County was at 55. And then in the last report that KSBA published was in 2017. So I'm showing you that here. In 2017, Marion County was at number 12 in the state at 37.8. So you went from 55 to 37.8. That's a pretty good reduction. For fiscal year 20, you were at about a 34.7. And as Scott mentioned earlier, you had a few of those months, March, April, May, where probably you had some utility cost reductions additionally, not just because of the work that we did there, but the buildings weren't as occupied as they would have normally been. Next slide, please. So this is every year I just update this chart. It shows the top graph there is the kilowatt hour baseline before the project. So across the entire district, the buildings were consuming about 5.7 million kilowatt hours. We had a guarantee to get it to 4.7 million kilowatt hours. So if we do better than that, then that's a good thing. The difference between the 4.7 million kilowatt hours and in the case of 2020, the 3.9 million kilowatt hours, that's excess, which means it's even more money above and beyond the guarantee that you're not spending that money with utility companies, so it's helping your general fund budget. The natural gas is tougher to pin down because of the weather fluctuations and how that would affect how much natural gas you use. But you can see there the baseline was about 29,000 therms, and you've been anywhere from 15,000 to 21,000 therms over the years. That's not as big of a deal because you're only spending about $15,000 a year on natural gas. So that miss there doesn't really hurt that bad. Whereas if you look at what you're spending on electricity, the excess savings on the electricity side way more, they more than cover the shortfall there on the gas. So I wouldn't worry about that too much. Go to the next slide. So this is the accounting for each building, and we're using your actual utility bills to come up with these numbers. This isn't based on a calculation other than what you were using before in terms of kilowatt hours or therms of natural gas versus what you actually used this past year. So each kilowatt hour is worth roughly 9 cents. So the difference between where you were versus where you are on kilowatt hours times the 9 cents per kilowatt hour, that's where those numbers come from. So you can see there the utility cost savings versus the guaranteed cost savings. The difference there is about $51,000. So that's $51,000. Your general fund debt service for fiscal year 20 was about $144,000. And your general fund savings, you can go to the next slide. I have this summarized there. So if you can see that where it says total savings 143,000, that was what we were guaranteeing, and the general fund debt obligation matches up with that $144,000 number. The actual savings exceeds that by $51,000. So if you think about that, you got the project was about $3.6 million, and you got a new HVAC system and other things across the district that you needed anyway. And you're also netting $51,000 to the good in the general fund. So I mean, I think that this is a really good example of a project like this that's working out well for a school district. That's all I've got for tonight. Does anyone have any questions?
Everybody looks good. Thank you, Adam, for that information. 51,000 to the good is great, great news.
All right, thank you.
All right, so let's move on to item number 4, which is the student learning services, and I need a motion for item 4A.
I'll make a motion to, this is Joey, to consider approval of pay application number 12 to Omni Commercial LLC in the amount of $2,460.02 for work performed on the Marion County Middle Addition and Renovation Project, BD number 19-363.
And this is Peggy. I'll second it.
Does anybody have any questions or comments? Okay.
Are we-
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Are we done with the, it's St. Charles to me, always be St. Charles to me. Are we done with this?
I can answer that. Actually, yes, we started occupying these rooms last week. The interior's pretty much done. There is a small punch list, a few odd and end things. And then the big thing is going to be the exterior, just the timing, finish in December. They'll probably come back in the spring and do some more site work, some additional seating. But overall, we are occupying these 4 new classrooms, and they're very nice. And hopefully sooner than later, we'll get y'all down there to look at them.
Sounds wonderful. Thank you.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, I need a motion for item number 4B.
This is Brad. I'll move we consider approval of pay application number 13 to Omni Commercial LLC in the amount of $74,324.67 for work performed on the Marion County Middle School Addition and Renovation Project, BG number 19-363.
This is Peggy. I'll second.
Any questions or comments? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we need a motion on item number 4C. This is Carrie. I'll go ahead and make a motion that we consider approval of school security funds request application in the amount of $11,872 for reimbursement of $6,872 for classroom door window covers and $5,000 for electronic locks, camera, and intercom on the main entrance at Hugh C. Spalding Academy.
This
This
is
is
Brad.
Joey, I'll second.
Who was that one? On second.
This is Joey, I'll second it.
Okay. Any questions or comments on this one?
Carrie, I'd just like to comment that this will be reimbursed and will not, it's an opportunity for us to put money back into our general fund for a school safety grant.
Any other questions? All right, all in favors? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we'll keep moving. I need a motion on item number 4D.
I'll make a motion, this is Peggy, to approve, establish 3 teachers to facilitate district learning.
I'll second that.
Mrs. Schlosser, could you provide some information for us in the public, please?
Yes, what we're looking at, and Tim provided the numbers on that, when you look at our elementary enrollment in regards to district or to distance learning versus in-person learning, we're looking at about 130 students and their families who have elected to do distance learning. And so when we're talking about elementary school instruction versus secondary, we want to look at an opportunity where we could have teachers that would provide some innovative, personalized instruction. And rather than just identify them as a specific grade level, we want to look at what that district learning would look like at that level. We have some federal funding that has come down, what you'll probably hear it called as ESSER 2 money. It's not going to hurt our general fund budget. We are working with our instructional coaches and our principals. It would give us an opportunity for our teachers in regards to when class is in session, they will be teaching their class, and then looking at what that would look like for those families who have said for whatever reason they want to continue with distance learning in a completely different way. I do want to clarify with COVID and we're still working on that virus. There will be continue to be instances. If I'm a classroom teacher and I'll use Joey as an example, if he's one of my students and he is quarantined 4 or 5 days or 7 days, he may want to come in person, but if he's quarantined, there may still be some distance learning that I would have to take place, but then Joey would come back that following week, if that makes sense. However, Brad and Peggy's family may say, hey, I'm going to do distance learning the rest of the year. And so we would facilitate that differently. And so we just want to explore this option, especially in regards to, we really don't know what this virus is going to look like. I know that we're trying to get ahead of that with a vaccine. And we have to think about what that will look like, not just the remainder of this year, but even next year. And so with these 3 teachers, we can look at what learning would look like, and it just looks different. I am a secondary teacher by trade, but I've also been an elementary school principal, and the learning is just different. And so with your all support for these next couple of months, I think it could give us some options and opportunities both for our staff to support them, but also for our families. And it's something that we can support with that ESSER's money. So far, we've been given some guidance, and we know that 85% of those funds need to be used directly to support students, and we believe that this would be a great way to support them. So I think we would all really appreciate your support, and I know that you all want elementary kiddos back in the classrooms, and I know that you all understand just how important it is to get our kiddos back, and definitely addressing that instruction. So if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them. If I don't know the answer, I'll get back to you. I do think that we're very fortunate in Marion County to have some strong elementary principals and instructional coaches and teachers and support staff as well.
Absolutely. And I am excited about these 3 positions because I think it will give people who want to choose distance learning, for the rest of the school year, the confidence in that they can keep their children home if they choose to do so, but still make sure that the education that their children receive is engaging and supportive and everything that it needs to be. And it also gives our classroom teachers an opportunity not to straddle between in-person and virtual. So I think this will be a good addition to our district staff all around. So thank you for bringing this to us. All right, unless there are any other questions, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any
Aye.
opposed? All right. So I'll need a motion on item number 5, student support services. 5A is I'll go ahead and make the motion, to consider approval of field trips.
I'll second.
Do we have any information on this field trip? Ms. Foster, yeah, you're on mute.
Right. You want to mute because you don't want to. But anyway, it's not anything that Mr. Lyons and I are concerned about. We just wanted to make sure that our board was okay with them traveling a few miles out of town. Typically, that's something I just approve. I don't see any concern. What I love about our district is if they are concerned, they do bring that to me. And in the event that there's something they feel like it's not going to work, we talk about it and come up with solutions. So I'm not concerned, Brad. You're someplace baseball. You may be able to share more than I can.
No, I think you covered it. And if Mr. Lyons and everybody feels good, I feel good about it.
Any other questions or comments? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, I need a motion on item 5B.
This is Joey.
I'll make a motion to go on, Joey.
Doesn't matter.
I think Jim made the motion and Joey second, maybe.
That'll work.
Awesome. Any questions or comments on the staffing allocations?
This is the exact same staffing allocation that we presented last year. I know that Mr. Lee had asked me about that. We have our staffing allocations detailed even right down to the square footage on our custodians. And so it is based on our student enrollment. So we haven't changed any of those kinds of things. And it's something that we're required to do. We're required to make sure that we get that out to our schools by March 1. And then we'll turn that over to them, and our site-based councils at each school will look at taking that staffing allocation and then determining what that looks like in each building.
Any other questions or comments? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, I need a motion on item 6.
This is Peggy. I'll make a motion for approval of all consent agenda items. Can't make that out. I'm sorry, my glasses are a little not working. Is that 5A through G?
6, you were close.
6, sorry.
I'll second.
All right, Brad. All right. Any questions or comments on these? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so item 7 is the acknowledgement of personnel actions. So acknowledged. And item 8 is adjournment. I need a motion for item 8.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in
Second.
favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Y'all have a
Thank
good
you.
night. Stay warm and safe.
Stay on the roads.
Um,
Yeah.